What if I told you that some Titanic survivors were haunted not by what they lost, but by what they were forced to leave behind in those final moments? Tonight, we're diving into the untold stories that reveal a different side of history's most famous maritime disaster. April 14, 1912, North Atlantic Ocean. The RMS Titanic strikes an iceberg at 11:40 p.m., sealing the fate of over 2,500 souls. But beyond the well-known tales of heroism and tragedy lie stories that have remained in the shadows for over a century. Meet Violet Jessup, a 24-year-old stewardess who would become known as the Unsinkable Woman. As the ship tilted dangerously, Violet was handed a baby by a desperate passenger and told to get into lifeboat 16. She clutched that infant throughout the freezing night, listening to the screams echoing across the dark water. When rescue came, a woman snatched the baby from her arms without a word. Violet never learned the child's name or fate, carrying that mystery for the rest of her life. But here's the incredible part. This wasn't Violet's only brush with disaster. She had survived the Olympics collision with HMS Hawke the year before and would later survive the Britannic's sinking in 1916. 3 sister ships, 3 disasters, one remarkable woman who lived to tell all their tales. Then there's the story of Masabumi Hosono, the only Japanese passenger aboard the Titanic. When he returned to Japan, he faced something no other survivor experienced: national shame. Japanese society condemned him as a coward for surviving when women and children died. Newspapers called him a disgrace to the samurai spirit. He lost his government job and lived as a social outcast for decades. His survival, which should have been celebrated, became his curse. Hosono later wrote, "I was saved by jumping into a lifeboat, but I wonder if it was really worth living to face this humiliation." His story reveals how cultural expectations could transform survival into a burden heavier than death itself. Perhaps the most haunting account comes from Lawrence Beasley, a second-class passenger and science teacher. He described the ship's final moments not with panic, but with an eerie calm. As the Titanic's lights flickered and died, he watched passengers on the tilting deck appear as silhouettes against the star-filled sky. "They seemed to be praying," he wrote, "but their voices carried across the water like a gentle hymn." Beasley noticed something that's rarely mentioned in other accounts. The ship's band wasn't just playing to keep spirits up. They were actually tuning their instruments between songs, suggesting they believed rescue was imminent. This small detail reveals how even in those final moments, hope persisted against impossible odds. Another survivor, Edith Russell, carried a musical pig toy that played the Maxix when wound up. She grabbed it instinctively when abandoning her cabin, and throughout that terrible night, she played the cheerful tune to calm crying children in her lifeboat. Years later, she said the toy's silly melody became the soundtrack to her survival, a bizarre comfort in humanity's darkest hour. The aftermath brought unexpected revelations. Many survivors reported guilt so overwhelming that they wished they had died instead. First-class passenger Archibald Gracie spent his remaining months obsessively investigating the disaster, interviewing every survivor he could find. He died less than 8 months later, with many believing the trauma literally killed him. What's remarkable is how these survivors became accidental historians. Their testimonies revealed details that official inquiries missed. They described the ship breaking apart, which authorities initially denied. They reported seeing distress rockets from other ships, contradicting official claims that help was too far away. These stories remind us that history's greatest disasters aren't just about statistics or maritime regulations. They're about individual moments of choice, courage, and consequence. Every survivor carried forward not just their life, but the memories of those who didn't make it. The Titanic's legacy isn't just about a ship that sank. It's about the 710 people who lived to tell a story that continues shaping how we understand tragedy, survival, and the weight of witnessing history's darkest moments. Their untold stories prove that sometimes living through disaster is just the beginning of the real journey.